rivers push in. This one specifically comes in from north to south, so we'll see more impressive rainfall totals in places like Napa and Santa Rosa, maybe compared to some of our Santa Cruz or Santa Clara Valley regions. So really what we're keeping a close eye on is all of our microclimates throughout the next couple days and how that atmospheric river impacts us. Now, as we dive into this weekend, of course, we'll see cloudy skies, rainy conditions too Saturday and Sunday. We'll start to taper off into Monday of next week with daytime highs slowly starting to rise back into the 70s in our inland spots. You make your way over into the Bay, we're in 60s each day, but the difference is we're also going to see those rainy conditions tapering off as we head into next Monday. We'll see 70s and sunnier skies on tap for us as we head into mid next week.
Well, Governor Newsom is threatening legal action if President Trump deploys the National Guard to San Francisco. Newsom says he's ready to trigger lawsuits if the federal government sends troops into the city, and he's not alone. California Attorney General Rob Bonta says the state is prepared to sue the Trump administration. Newsom calls the potential deployment not grounded in reality and one that shows no respect for state sovereignty. Meanwhile, Mayor Daniel Lurie is laying out his plan if troops are in fact deployed in his city. Veronica Macias shows us his own supervisors are eager for answers.
After the president doubled down on his comments about sending the National Guard to San Francisco, city leaders are now questioning what the mayor's office is doing to prepare in the next coming weeks should there be boots on the ground. Mayor Daniel Lurie saying he's been preparing for a federal intervention since the day he took office. The discussion of the possibility for the National Guard to arrive in San Francisco came up during a regular monthly meeting yesterday. However, Mayor Daniel Lurie didn't provide any specific details, only saying his office is preparing for a range of scenarios. He explains he is regularly meeting with safety leaders and the city attorney's office to coordinate a response. He stressed how his priority has always been keeping the people of San Francisco safe.
We've been convening a cross-departmental policy group of public safety leaders, representatives from the city attorney's office, and other affected department heads to continue coordinating our local response to potential federal actions.
Mayor Daniel Lurie has been very careful to respond, taking a very measured approach, which some city leaders have applauded. He's not been confrontational or named the president by name. However, we have spoken also to former Mayor Willie Brown, who says he wishes Mayor Daniel Lurie would invite the president to come to San Francisco and see things for himself before making any decision about sending in the troops.
President Trump has also floated Oakland as a place for potential deployment. Mayor Barbara Lee called his characterization of crime in Oakland wrong and said it was grounded in fear-mongering. Leaders in the South Bay are teaming up to create a so-called ice-free zones. The coordinated legislation between Santa Clara County and the city of San Jose would bar federal immigration agents from accessing some of the county and city properties for enforcement operations without prior authorization from a judge.
Across the country, we've seen cities grappling with the misuse of public assets for immigration enforcement. And I refused to wait for it to happen here in our community. Our city facilities were built to serve our residents, not to be used as staging grounds for federal immigration operations.
The Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors just voted to pass a proposal. Now the policy goes before San Jose's Rules and Open Government Committee. Governor Gavin Newsom announced he is deploying the California National Guard to help staff food banks all across the state. It's part of a mission to support families impacted by the government shutdown, which has delayed food benefits for more than 5 million Californians. The CEO of Second Harvest of Silicon Valley said this morning the news was a surprise.
While I don't want to sound ungrateful to the governor, because we are fortunate to have such a supportive governor and state legislature. And the National Guard was critical during the pandemic to food banks because we suddenly had to double the amount of food we were distributing. Of course, people were staying home because of concerns about COVID. And so the National Guard was a lifesaver for us. We had actually 200 Guard members at our food bank for months and months on end.
She also says what's important for now, the organization is to find the food and funds for the increase in demand from the shutdown. This all comes as the clock is ticking for millions of Californians who rely on food assistance programs. Tomorrow is the cutoff day to reload those food stamp cards. That means starting next month, thousands could lose food assistance, many of them children and seniors. One Bay Area recipient did not want his face on camera, but tells us he works full-time as a driver for Uber and needs food assistance because what he earns is just not enough.
$296 doesn't get you very far when you're feeding a couple of people.
SNAP is really our nation's first defense against hunger, right? So am I going to pay my rent or am I going to buy groceries this month? Like, these are the decisions that people are going to be forced to make.
About 5.5 million Californians receive SNAP benefits. San Francisco State Senator Scott Wiener making it official this morning, announcing he will run for Congress.
I'm Scott Wiener. I'm running for Congress to defend San Francisco, our values, our people, and the Constitution of the United States with everything I have. I stood up to violence and hate my
The 55-year-old Democrat says San Franciscans deserve a leader who can stand up to President Trump's extremist agenda. This, of course, raises questions as Speaker Nancy Pelosi former Speaker Nancy Pelosi still holds that District 11 seat he is running for. Reed Cowan and Max Jarrow spoke to Senator Wiener about that today on our morning edition.
I've got to ask right off the top, I've got your release here. It talks about Congressional District 11. Does not one time use the name of Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. Are you saying that you're feeling like this is going to be an election where you go head-to-head with Nancy Pelosi?
So this really isn't about Nancy Pelosi. This is about the future and this moment in time where we have rising authoritarianism and cost of living increase. We need to really help make people's lives better. And it's about going forward for the future and representation of San Francisco. And so that's really what it is about. And that's why I'm running.
Putting your name in the hat, potentially going up against Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, are you saying that right now we need even more to stand up to that so-called authoritarianism that you speak of?
Yeah, I have enormous respect for Speaker Emerita Pelosi. She has moved mountains for the country, for San Francisco, and I think the world of her. I do not know what her plans are, only she can say, and she has not said so far. But I know that San Francisco deserves the strongest possible representation, and I've worked very, very hard for San Francisco, and I've delivered over and over again, whether on housing or healthcare affordability or expanding clean energy or fighting for democracy. And I look forward to taking that fight to Washington, D.C.
Senator Wiener.
When asked about the president's threats to send in the National Guard troops to San Francisco, Senator Wiener says while he hopes it will not happen, we need to be prepared. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area, Proposition 50 will have major implications in Washington, but even more so in communities across California.
A lot of people will not be able to vote for the person who represents them now.
We're going to hear from experts who say the proposed congressional map is not as new as it seems. Plus, it is an unintended consequence of San Jose's homeless strategy. Why the push to find housing for people cleared from encampments could threaten the livelihood of a local restaurant.
Well, it's a lot cooler and cloudier as we head outside today. 60s in the forecast throughout all of our inland spots. That matches up with our friends along the coast for our daytime highs. Now, of course, we're also gearing up for low pressure sweeping in from the south. What that's going to do for us is brings in cloudier skies, a chance of showers for us today, mostly in the South Bay. We'll start to clear up by tomorrow with 70s on tap for us in our inland spots by Thursday and Friday. But then you make your way over into the Bay. This cool weather is going to last in this weekend. 60s each day. By Saturday and Sunday, there's a chance that we could see an atmospheric river pushing in from the north. That's going to bring in some more substantial rain right around the corner.
Well, the California special election is right around the corner, and Proposition 50 could reshape the balance of power in Congress. If Prop 50 passes, it would redraw state congressional districts, potentially shifting 5 seats from Republicans to Democrats. Here's a look at the current map, showing the results from the 2024 election. You can see red districts are mainly in the Central Valley and parts of Northern and Southern California. So watch what happens when we change the map to the proposed redrawn congressional districts. You can see most of Northern California turns blue with only a few Republican strongholds to the south. So how was this redistricting map decided? Lauren Toms explains.
Under Prop 50, California's congressional maps could shift the balance of power not only felt in Washington, but on the ground in counties across the state. And Sonoma state political expert David McEwen says to look to the north to understand the stakes.
You have to win and pick up a couple of seats in the north to then make it possible to draw an inside straight for the South and the Central Valley to get those other 3 seats.
That inside straight is the heart of Prop 50, a mid-decade map redraw designed to help Democrats gain 5 new congressional seats in a state where maps usually change only once a decade. But the map isn't as new as it looks or feels.
This is not something that the creators of Prop 50 kind of came up with on their own. This is actually a map that the commission was looking at the end of the 2021 process.
Redistricting expert Paul Mitchell says many of these lines from Southern California up to the North Coast were first considered by the state's independent redistricting commission back in 2021. The difference this time, a clear political intent to move just enough Democrats into Republican-leaning districts to offset Republican gains in Texas.
Kind of the starting point for the California maps, being a nonpartisan map, made it a lot easier to achieve these gains for Democrats without disrupting the majority of the state's districts.
But Republicans call it a power grab. Congressman Kevin Kiley says under the proposed map, his district would be split 6 ways.
A lot of people will not be able to vote for the person who represents them now because your district will be shattered into different pieces. And so if you like your representative, you don't like your representative, you may lose the right to vote for them or against them.
Kiley warns that sidestepping the state's independent process approved by voters to prevent gerrymandering will weaken trust in mixed communities that share little in common, linking solidly blue Marin County to Trump-supporting areas near the Oregon border, all under one representative.
Suddenly you have a representative who also represents very different communities that have maybe an entirely different set of interests. And so people are going to be left in many cases without any sense that they have their own representative in Congress. They're advocating for them and fighting for them.
And as McEwen teaches that every map tells a story, this one shows how politics, power, and place collide.
These are very divergent and different communities that do not see the world the same way and reflect, I think, the diversity of California and its political interests.
Meanwhile, lawmakers in North Carolina have approved a new congressional map aimed at helping Republicans gain a seat in the House. An invasive mosquito species known for spreading disease has been spotted in Dublin for the very first time. The county's mosquito abatement district says an adult mosquito known as Aedes aegypti was found in central Dublin. It's also known as the yellow fever mosquito, but it's also known to also carry dengue and Zika. Over the last years, it has also shown up in Pleasanton, Livermore, and Fremont, as well as 26 other counties statewide. County officials warn residents to make sure they do not have any standing water. Another thing to look out for, the females will lay their eggs on the side of containers like buckets, bird baths, potted plants, pet bowls, even children's toys left outside. The district says it's working with Dublin officials to inspect properties near where the mosquito was found. A family-owned restaurant could become unintended collateral damage in San Jose's fight to end homelessness. Over the past few months, we have reported on the city's extensive efforts to clear out encampments, like the ones at Columbus Park near the airport. Well, some homeless people have been moved into temporary housing at local hotels. One of those spots, the Allura Inn, is located on Oakland Road, just a couple of miles from Columbus Park. But there's one problem. The inn shares its small parking lot with a Mexican restaurant. Our Kelsey Thorne spoke with a restaurant owner who says the city's move is costing them customers.
Bernadette Garcia has owned and managed Los Garcia's restaurant alongside her husband, Francisco, for more than 20 years.
We make everything in-house, including our tortillas.
The two are a match made in heaven. Francisco has been cooking since he came to the U.S. from Mexico when he was just a teenager. And Bernadette comes from a family who owned a restaurant in Milpitas for 30 years. Los Garcias means the world to them and has helped put their kids through college.
It's been our life. We've worked and worked, all of us. My husband's here from morning to close, 6 days a week, and on his day off on Monday, he's here to clean.
The restaurant has been a neighborhood favorite for decades, packed all times of the day with newcomers and regulars alike. But a few months ago, that all changed.
We can't serve our customers. We just can't do it.
Bernadette says back in July, the motel right behind her restaurant was converted by the city into temporary housing for the homeless. Her restaurant shares a parking lot with the motel. But when the city took over, they put up a fence blocking her customers from using any of the motel parking spaces.
Our guests don't have a parking. They're not able to come in and get out right away. Either they're waiting or they have to come back.
Bernadette says the reduced number of parking spaces has wreaked havoc on her business.
So if we fill up the parking spaces in what we have currently, we're halfway filled here, halfway. And that just doesn't cut it. We have half customers. And people drive in and they think we're crowded, we're overfilled, but it's because we don't have enough parking.
Bernadette told me she reached out to the city to try to work with them on getting more of the parking spaces back. We also reached out to the city. They sent us a statement saying they have spoken with the owners of Los Garcias and that following discussions with the motel service provider, they will give 6 more parking spaces to the restaurant. It's unclear, though, if that'll be enough. Customers have rallied to support the Garcias. Jennifer Grass owns a business just down the road. She's a regular at Los Garcias and told me she started walking here instead of driving just to keep more parking spaces open for other customers.
There's barely parking and we don't want to park illegally, so we walk now.
But even with the support of customers like Jennifer, Bernadette says her restaurant most likely won't last through the beginning of next year without an even bigger change to the parking situation. It's something she and Francisco are grappling with every day, wondering what they'll do if they lose the restaurant they worked so hard on all these years.
It's very sad. It's very, very sad for the entire family.
And Bernadette says her customers have tried parking across the street, but business owners there would not allow it because they do not want to be liable for her customers' safety. Local officials and community members celebrated the expansion of a tiny home site. The Rue Ferrari interim housing site just doubled its capacity with the addition of more than 100 new beds. Nonprofit Home First runs the shelter. It serves as transitional housing for homeless people. Each room has a private bathroom and a central building with laundry and a shared kitchen. The complex also has a security office, dog park, and picnic area. One formerly unhoused resident opened up about how this site has changed his life.
Moving to Rue Ferrari, it's been a miracle. If you need a job or if you need anything, they will help you with job, and a lot of the stuff that we weren't able to get out there in the streets.
The expansion costs more than $3 million, with $1 million coming from federal funding. Still ahead, graphic, violent videos pushed on Instagram with millions of views and very real profits behind them. Our CBS News investigation into where that money is going.
below average, all the way over into Concord, about 7 degrees below average up into Santa Rosa. That puts us in the 60s today throughout the North Bay, the East Bay, and all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley. Another thing to mention too, along that cool, cloudy coast today, we're still under a beach hazard statement with that northwesterly swell. We can see really strong rip currents and sneaker waves. Today is not the day to be heading out there to the bay or to the coast by any means. Now, last but not least, I want to talk about what's coming this weekend because I'm sure you've heard an atmospheric river is hitting the west coast. Now, it's starting in the Pacific Northwest. By Friday night into Saturday morning, we can see those showers tracking off into our local communities. So we're going to keep a close eye on that as we head into this weekend's forecast. I really wanted to show you the next 7 days. We do have showers on tap for us Saturday and Sunday, clearing up a bit more as we head into next Monday and Tuesday with 70s right around the corner in the Bay.
Well, we're diving into the violent world of the internet. Earlier this year, a glitch spread graphic violent videos to unsuspecting Instagram users. Instagram's owner says it has fixed the problem and now has filters to protect younger users, but a CBS News data dive finds violent content is still pervasive on Instagram Reels. Ashar Karashi has the report, and we caution you, some of the subject matter is disturbing.
Jack Hughes says the gory videos that popped up on his Instagram feed in February were unlike anything he'd seen before.
It's worse than anyone could imagine. It's like I saw someone getting their head squished like a watermelon.
Though the 19-year-old from Wisconsin understands algorithms drive his feed, he says the violent videos appeared without warning.
Oof.
Did you wonder why this stuff was populating your feed?
I had no idea.
It turns out that day in February, according to Meta, Instagram's parent company, its algorithm malfunctioned, pushing graphic and violent content to users worldwide.
A CBS News investigation found violent and graphic content depicting injury or death, known as gore, remains widespread on Instagram Reels. Between February and April, we identified more than 600 accounts posting real-world violence. And that content isn't just shocking, it's profitable.
We found Instagram hosts a thriving gray market where gambling sites, crypto apps, and porn agencies pay to slip ads in between the gore.
Shootings, car crashes, stuff like that.
Matthew Furman is one of those profiting from gore videos. A 22-year-old college student, he uses a dozen phones and hundreds of email accounts to share content with his 18 million followers across 80 Instagram accounts.
On an average month, how many views would some gory, violent content that you post get?
Close to 1 billion across all my accounts.
1 billion with a B?
Mm-hmm.
With those views, shares, and likes, Furman builds connections with other creators and makes money helping them gain followers, earning him up to $70,000 a month. He claims a higher purpose to his postings.
Some of it's pretty disturbing to look at, don't you think?
Yeah, but it's to raise awareness so people know, like, don't play with guns.
So you think it's more educational than voyeuristic?
Yeah.
Does Meta make money when this type of content gets engagement?
100%.
Ravi Iyer is a former Meta executive who oversaw content moderation.
I don't think Meta's responsible for every bad thing that happens on the internet or happens on their platform. People are going to do bad things, but they've created an environment where people are effectively getting paid to do bad things.
We asked Meta repeatedly about their specific enforcement actions. While they wouldn't answer questions about our findings, they provided a statement that read in part, "It's our policy not to recommend violent content, restrict it from being monetized, and add warning labels. And for teens, we aim to hide graphic content entirely, even if it's shared by someone they follow." For millions of users, the question now isn't just what they see online, but what Meta lets them see.
And a Meta spokesperson also told CBS News the platform does its best to protect its hundreds of millions of users from seeing harmful content. Coming up in our next half hour in CBS News Bay Area, metal business that has survived for more than a century is finally closing up shop. We're going to speak to the third-generation owner about why they do not fit in the modern world.
I would have never been able to predict it 10 years ago, and I feel sorry.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Well, thanks for staying with us. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. Here's another look at our news headlines. Governor Newsom says the state is deploying the California National Guard to help our food banks. This comes as the government shutdown is expected to impact food benefits for millions of Californians starting tomorrow. The governor's office says they're fast-tracking up to $80 million in state funds to assist. It is official. State Senator Scott Wiener is running for Congress. His office confirmed this morning he is seeking the seat currently held by former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi's office has not announced if she's planning to run again or retire next year. Senator Wiener has represented San Francisco in the state Senate since 2016. The Warriors are in the win column. The Dubs beat the Lakers in Los Angeles in last night's season opener, final score 119-109. Jimmy Butler led the way with 31 points. The Warriors play their home opener tomorrow at Chase Center. Okay, let's get another check of our first alert forecast with meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Cool, cloudy skies. That's in the forecast for us today, on top of the fact that we're also gearing up for some cool weather, too. Hey, let's zoom all the way into the North Bay real fast. It was just yesterday we were talking about 70s and 80s throughout all of our inland spots. Today, we're starting to see 60s in places like Napa and Vallejo. That matches up with San Francisco today at 66 degrees there. Across the Bay Bridge, 67, and down into the Santa Clara Valley. Yeah, it's a nice mild one for us as we head outside, sitting in the 70s throughout this afternoon. Now, a couple of things. We woke up this morning to a pretty active radar down closer to Monterey and Salinas. What we're keeping a close eye on as we head into the next 24 hours is this area of low pressure and what it's doing for us. Its lasting impacts all throughout the Bay Area, of course, are cool conditions and cloudy skies, but we also could see some light showers sweeping into the East Bay, down into the Santa Clara Valley as we head into the afternoon hours today before cloudy skies fill the Bay again into the evening hours tonight. Now, we'll start to dry up as we head into our Thursday and Friday forecast, but late Friday night, early Saturday morning, that's when we're gearing up for an atmospheric river here in the Bay Area, bringing in showers widespread throughout the Bay. So I want to talk a little bit more about that because here in the Bay Area, when these atmospheric rivers push in, this one specifically comes in from north to south, so we'll see more impressive rainfall totals in places like Napa and Santa Rosa, maybe compared to some of our Santa Cruz or Santa Clara Valley regions. So really what we're keeping a close eye on is all of our microclimates throughout the next couple days and how that atmospheric river impacts us. Now, as we dive into this weekend, of course, we'll see cloudy skies, rainy conditions too, Saturday and Sunday. We'll start to taper off into Monday of next week with daytime highs slowly starting to rise back into the 70s in our inland spots. You make your way over into the Bay, we're in 60s each day, but the difference is we're also going to see those rainy conditions tapering off as we head into next Monday. We'll see 70s and sunnier skies on tap for us as we head into mid next week.
Well, economic conditions have changed so radically since the pandemic that a lot of legacy businesses have been forced to close. The latest is a 116-year-old metal shop in Berkeley that's become victim of new technology. As John Ramos reports, the city will be paying a price for its closing as well.
When the Walter Mork Company closes its doors for the last time, it won't just be the end of a metal shop. It'll be taking a piece of Berkeley's history with it. The business began in 1909, following the San Francisco earthquake, when Walter Mork brought his metal fabrication skills to Berkeley to open his own shop.
My grandfather is this man right here with the balding head.
Fred Mork ended up with the business, having it passed on to him from his father, Walter Jr. But now, as he walks through the cavernous building, he can't see a future, because in a few months, the Walter Mork Company will close down for good.
I would have never been able to predict it 10 years ago, and I feel sorry. I feel sorry for the future generation that don't have the skills, are not interested in this kind of technology and don't want to learn about it.
Computerized fabrication has taken so much business that shops like Fred's just can't make it anymore. Add to that the escalating costs of business, and there just isn't much of a future for the shop's workers. Fred's son-in-law, Berkeley Choate, is vice president and handles most of the business operation.
Just not enough profitable volume of work. It's also very hard to find really good people anymore. Ironically, the more complicated the project, the better he does.
The shop has been producing high-profile metal structures in Berkeley for a century, including an archway that pointed the way to the city's bustling manufacturing district. These days, the shop makes custom architectural features like this beautiful copper roof piece.
Well, you wouldn't be able to build this with the computerized stuff.
So is this something that's kind of disappearing from life these days?
Well, it's harder and harder to get people to do it, for sure.
But there are still some people who appreciate the art of hand craftsmanship. Scott Williams has learned to love working with the massive old machines, and on this day was fabricating a plate for the chassis of his motorcycle.
Do you ever just buy something, or do you just make everything you need?
It's a lot cheaper to make it. So the parts are expensive, so I'll just make them myself.
But it's not just about the cost. He says there is a satisfaction in making something with your own hands. It's something he learned by working here.
It's the best job I've ever had.
Why is that?
Because of the owner. He's a good guy. He trusts me. That's a nice feature to have. And he lets me use this place on the weekends. So that's awesome.
And that feeling is clearly mutual.
I'm also so proud of people like Scott that do want to learn about it and devote the rest of our lives to learning and perfecting the fabrication techniques that we use right here.
Fred has spent years teaching young people the skills that were passed on by his father and his father before that. In a few months, another piece of Berkeley will pass into history, and though most will never know it, the city will have lost something important.
Well, over the years, the shop has done metalwork for everything from Chez Panisse to the Alaska Pipeline. When it closes, Fred is hoping some kind of metalworking business can move in to carry on the tradition. Local businesses celebrating Diwali are feeling the impacts of President Trump's tariffs. The new India Bazaar stockpiled things like candles and decorations for the Hindu Festival of Lights. But the owners say they have been forced to raise prices on certain items because of the 50% tariff on the majority of Indian exports.
We've seen anywhere between 15% to 50%. I think so the best ones are eating part of the cost, and we're eating part of the cost. And so when it gets down to the customers for these, specially imported items, we're doing our best.
President Trump imposed that 50% tariff on India back in August after the country refused to end its oil trading partnership with Russia. Well, a years-old clerical error is causing a headache for social workers in Marin County. The county recently discovered it has overpaid nearly 24 employees by an estimated $300,000 over 3 years. That number is rising. Now the county wants the money back. Brad Hamilton looks into the fallout from the mistake and what the workers' union says should happen.
Okay, imagine you've been making the wrong paycheck for the last 2 years, and you've just been told by your own company that you owe them money. Well, that has been the case for some Marin County workers here recently, and the mistake happens to be the employer's fault. Riley Katz has seen it all.
I've been doing this work for 47 years.
Or at least he thought.
I think this is a first, and I've been in this county for 11 years. It's certainly a first in this county.
As the executive director of the Marin Association of Public Employees, Katz represents workers now caught in the middle of a costly county error.
Very sorry you made a mistake. You owe us X dollars.
Katz wrote to the county supervisors earlier this month, warning that back in 2022, Marin County mistakenly increased pay for bilingual social service workers by about 7%. He says that raise was intended for a different group of employees, but was applied in error and left uncorrected for more than 2 years. Katz estimates that the total of overpayment is at more than $300,000 and says some workers could be on the hook for more than $20,000 each. He also points out that 9 of 20 workers impacted were hired after the mistake was made at the higher rate, which was written into their offer letter.
Suddenly got an email saying you owe us thousands of dollars and we're paying you too much. It's been very stressful for folks.
In a statement to KPIX, County Counsel Brian Washington confirmed the overpayments and wrote in part, quote, "The county acknowledges the significant financial impacts for many of the affected employees and is in active discussions with our employees and their representatives to work through these issues." Washington later added, "No repayment letters have been sent and discussions are still underway about how to handle employees that were hired after August 2022. Katz says the union has now made a formal offer to the county, asking it to clear the 9 newer employees of any obligations and create a repayment plan for the 11 people who were hired before the mistake was made.
Bottom line is we're hoping the county, to use an overused cliche, will do the right thing.
Katz did want to give the county credit for owning up to the mistake, but he said any explanation for why this happened and what's being done to fix it hasn't been given just yet.
Well, a Bay Area company is now taking responsibility for a mid-air scare last week at United Airlines flight diverted to Salt Lake City after something struck and crashed the windshield mid-flight. We have learned that a weather balloon launched by Palo Alto-based Windborne Systems may have caused the damage. You can see in these photos there are clear signs of an impact. The upper corner is cracked and discolored. Glass apparently shattered and even injured a pilot. Windborne CEO weighed in on what may have gone wrong.
We saw that the trajectory in terms of the location and altitude of the balloon matched up with the aircraft trajectory. And we also lost communication with this particular balloon right around the time that the incident seemed to occur. And so that tells me the most likely explanation was a collision with a windborne balloon.
The company says it coordinates all flights with the FAA and has notified the NTSB. The CEO says they are cooperating with federal agencies during the investigation. Up next, the Niners still riding high from a win against the Falcons. And while the spotlight was on Christian McCaffrey, a teammate is getting a special shout out for his clutch assist.
Well, it's a lot cooler and cloudier as we head outside today. 60s in the forecast throughout all of our inland spots. That matches up with our friends along the coast for our daytime highs. Now, of course, we're also gearing up for low pressure sweeping in from the south. What that's going to do for us is brings in cloudier skies, a chance of showers for us today, mostly in the South Bay. We'll start to clear up by tomorrow with 70s on tap for us in our inland spots by Thursday and Friday. But then you make your way over into the Bay. This cool weather is going to last in this weekend. 60s each day. By Saturday and Sunday, there's a chance that we could see an atmospheric river pushing in from the north. That's going to bring in some more substantial rain right around the corner.
Well, 4 suspects are accused of stealing Halloween decorations from front yards in El Cerrito. Here's a look at some of those decorations recovered by police. They say mostly skeletons were stolen. The suspects now in custody. Police are asking people in the community to come forward if they are missing their Halloween decorations. They say they're hoping to return them to their owners. A warning is going out to surfers in Santa Cruz to keep an eye out for surfboard stealing sea otter. On multiple occasions, sea otters at Lighthouse Field State Beach have been known to hop on surfboards, yank on the leashes of surfers. We heard from Nathan, who saw one of those incidents for himself.
I was out with one of my friends, and out of nowhere, this otter just hops on into this guy's board, and it almost looks like he's like biting it, but it's like, I don't know, he kind of looked chill, so I think it's good.
Beachgoers are being asked to report any sea otter interactions to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Well, the 49ers hit the road this week to take on the Texans in Houston this Sunday. The Niners got a career performance from Christian McCaffrey against the Falcons this past Sunday. And as Vern Glenn explains, it never hurts to get some help from your teammates.
This is the Audi Red and Gold Report.
The 49ers are getting ready to turn the page to the Houston Texans this weekend. But they're still riding high from Sunday night's win over the Falcons. Kyle Shanahan called his shot. He told his team it was a Christian McCaffrey game, and CMC delivered. But credit lineman Connor Colby with the assist on his second score. The left guard dragged McCaffrey into the end zone, which turned out to be the knockout blow.
Those are the kind of plays that are just character plays and, that are fun to be a part of. So appreciative of him for getting me in again.
He did. Pulled him in there, didn't he? It's fantastic. That's a good Iowa guy.
I had a front row seat. I was backside, so seeing that big 75 just grab him, I'm like, oh, I think that might work.
With the Red and Gold Report, I'm Vern Glenn.
And tune in tonight for our weekly's 49er Experience with Vern and Matt Lively. It airs at 7:30 on KPIX and streaming on the free CBS News app. But coming up, the plan to paint the town green, the vision, transform Oakland into an urban oasis.
We live in a concrete jungle, but we got the beauty of having mountains and water right between us.
Hills today about 8 degrees below average, all the way over into Concord, about 7 degrees below average up into Santa Rosa. That puts us in the 60s today throughout the North Bay, the East Bay, and all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley. Another thing to mention too, along that cool, cloudy coast today, we're still under a beach hazard statement with that northwesterly swell. We can see really strong rip currents and sneaker waves. Today is not the day to be heading out there to the bay or to the coast by any means. Now, last but not least, I want to talk about what's coming this weekend because I'm sure you've heard an atmospheric river is hitting the west coast. Now, it's starting in the Pacific Northwest. By Friday night into Saturday morning, we can see those showers tracking off into our local communities. So we're going to keep a close eye on that as we head into this weekend's forecast. I really wanted to show you the next 7 days. We do have showers on tap for us Saturday and Sunday, clearing up a bit more as we head into next Monday and Tuesday with 70s right around the corner in the Bay.
Well, there are a lot of great things to do outdoors in Oakland, but imagine if the city had even more trees, more bike lanes, more pedestrian pathways. Our Kara St. Cyr looks into the effort to turn the town green.
When David Ralston looks at a map of Oakland, he sees a path forward, specifically a greenway path.
A greenway is a path, otherwise known as a pathway that's nature-based, it's naturalized, got trees and grass.
He and others in the Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission envision a network of greenways throughout the city.
We envision about 8 or so of those also on major corridors, and then also greenways going the other direction, kind of the north to south direction, so you have a complete connected network.
The goal is to connect bike paths along creeks, like the San Leandro Creek Trail on Hagenberger.
Yeah, right here they're actually the city's building the infrastructure to make a safe crosswalk to connect to this park from the Greenway, the San Leandro Creek Greenway.
He hopes the green paths will be added to Oakland's general plan, which is due for an update in 2026. But the problem is the price tag, which could run tens of millions of dollars total.
We secured a $4.1 million grant from the state to implement this Class 1 bike trail.
Keita Price, the lead consultant for Hood Planning Group, pushed to connect the trails along the San Leandro Creek. She says pathways like these need funding.
We live in a concrete jungle, but we got the beauty of having mountains and water right between us, and so we should be able to get to those things.
Oakland just approved a new budget, closing a $265 million deficit. But the city still faces a backlog of infrastructure projects.
This network is part of our 20-year vision. So we're trying to be bold, and we're trying to transform the city, and that's what this is about.
But Ralston says greenways are the path forward.
Well, Oakland officials are reviewing the proposal. They can make a decision on the plan later this month. Regional Medical Center East San Jose celebrating a new beginning or two. Meet Analea June. She was born yesterday morning at 11:49, weighing in at 7 pounds 9 ounces. Analea is the first baby to be born at the hospital since the labor and delivery ward reopened this week after a 5-year closure. This comes after the Santa Clara County bought the hospital from HCA Healthcare. We're told both baby and mom, Naomi, are doing well. They look great. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. We'll be right back with your First Alert forecast and a look at your top stories.